So we'll see what are the thumb rules for a business analyst. Okay. So the first. So before moving ahead, any questions?
No, no, sir.
Sai? Hello.
Yeah, Srikanth.
Any questions?
No, Srikanth.
Okay. So coming to thumb rules of a business analyst, solve the client problem only by our IT team. Okay. So what it says, as a business analyst, we should not probe into the reasons of the business failure and provide solutions to outcome of it. Instead, we should concentrate more on providing the client with an IT solution by considering the information available with the client. Okay. So now what does it say? Means we see if any issue is occurred, if once we deploy the features or application in the client environment or UAT environment, client is facing any issue when it comes to the business. So I mean, issue with the business is issue. There is no issue with the functionality, but the understanding of that particular feature has a different opinion with the between two stakeholders. Okay, so business analyst should not concentrate on that because that is a business issue and they will take care. We have to concentrate only on the IT related issue fixes. Okay, so such as if client says this requirement is not working properly, or there is a bug in that particular feature, those kind of issues we have to take care, and that also we have to fix them using our IT team, our development team. Okay, not since whenever if any developer is not available within our team, we should not go to another team's developer and ask them to work on that. Always we have to utilize our developers or our testers for fixing any issue or validating any issue. Okay, so we should be cautious on that. And next is be like a lotus in the mud. Okay, what does that mean is a business analyst should work independently without getting influenced by the pressure or any other external factors. Okay, the one who wanders independent in the world, free from opinions and viewpoints, does not enter into the disputations and arguments. Okay, so we should not encourage any kind of arguments between the team or argument with us, or we should not argue with development team or the stakeholders. Okay, so BA shines by making the development team to deliver the right solution on the right time. This can be done by bringing clarity in the requirement and communicating the same in understandable format. The development team, he should be influenced by the client views and the development team views. His concentration should be in modeling the requirements to bring out the perfect IT solution. Okay,
Okay.
understood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the third one is never take tensions but pass on the tension. What does that mean is as a BA, you should not feel the pressure, as I said, and you should not take the tension. What you should not take the tensions from the client. Okay, so for example, if any issue is there is an any development issue which has been encountered in the UAT. Okay, so client will not sit, right, he will shout at us. You should not take the tensions. Okay, instead you have to identify who has worked on that. Okay, who is responsible for that defect, pass on the same tension to that person. Okay, why? Because if business analyst comes under pressure, he cannot handle the things. Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
so moving on to the next one, requirements hurried, project buried. Okay, so whenever we are gathering any requirements, we should not be gather the requirements in a hurry. Okay, so basically what happens in every organization, for a requirement gathering session, there is a certain period of amount, say 2 months or 3 months. Generally, that would be 3 months, stipulated time wherein a BA should gather the requirements. Okay, if you want additional time, we have to request our PM or whoever it is who is responsible for putting the timelines. We need to request them for an additional time. Okay, instead we should not hurry in gathering the requirements in that particular stipulated time. So that if you gather the requirements in a hurry, the project will not be uh, the project will not go smooth. Okay, so do not hesitate while gathering the requirements. Giving in due to stress level upon by your manager. Okay, project success mainly depends on the key requirement. The basic idea of gathering the requirement is to realize the organization goals. Okay, so as I said, we should not come into stress or pressure while gathering the requirements, okay, due to the timelines. So it is very important to understand the business process and its requirement, but not the individual requirement. Okay, we have to document everything that we have gathered from the client, identify the right stakeholders who are going to use the proposed IT solution, gather
Okay.
requirement in detail enough, try to understand the business goals and objectives and not the requirement alone. Okay, so besides requirement, we should also understand what is the objective behind that requirement. Okay, and what is the goal. So a requirement is fulfilled only when it reaches the stakeholders goal, right, as we have seen in the other session, right? Get behind the scenes, observe them how they work. When something usually happens in the process, pull out those documents. Always try to build a new system, do not copy the old one. See the reports and the folk who uses them. Okay, so at any point of time, a business analyst should not be in a hurry in gathering the requirements or analyzing the issue. Okay, take your own time and gather the requirements or analyze the issue. Okay, so never criticize any stakeholder, appreciate them even for their small effort. This is very important. Okay, as a business analyst, you have to manage good public relationships, doing with professional relationships with all associates to be recognized as a reliable and a trustworthy associate of that organization. Should never speak ill of any stakeholder to any stakeholder. If people started trusting you, then your contribution will be easy. Okay, so when you're talking to multiple stakeholders, right? So today you are meeting one stakeholder and you got one requirement. Okay, the another tomorrow, if you while you're talking to another stakeholder, he says that is not the functionality of that requirement. You should not blame the other stakeholder. Okay, you should try to
Okay.
understand why there is a difference between the two requirements or the two people. Okay, instead of that, you should not blame the other stakeholder. Okay, so BA is such an important role, right? Sometimes what will happen if if any organization, if one of the clients is working with the BA, and if BA has left the company, the client will ask that particular organization to put that BA back into that project. Okay, so BA has such a vital role because he has to maintain a very good relationship with the client. Okay, client will be more comfortable when we talk to them, in a professional way, or when we handle their issues in a professional way. Client will feel more comfortable working with us. Okay, because business analyst is only the one who will interact with the clients directly on the issues and on the requirements, right? Not PM, not project manager talks, or not the technical lead has that visibility to talk to client directly on the requirements part. Okay,
Okay.
Yeah.
clear?
Yes.
Oh, okay, okay. Now we'll see what are the do's and don'ts of a BA. Okay, so so okay, so do's and don'ts of a BA. Okay, the first one is there is no word called as by default. Okay, so what will happen in product-based companies, that particular functionality, you know, say for example, in the other day we have seen, developing a forgot password page, right? So in that there are two aspects. One is resetting the password using the email and OTP authentication. Okay, we have to get a clear requirement whether client requires both the options. Instead, you should not say, by default, OTP authentication will also be developed in that particular requirement. You should not say that. We have to check whether that is also required by the client or not, or the stakeholder. Okay. Never imagine anything in terms of GUI, graphic user interface. Okay. On the screen, see for example, okay. So you're able to see MS Paint, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for example, if let us think this is the screen, okay, okay, and here it is the login username, and this is the password. Okay, so what says never imagine anything in terms of UI, GUI. Okay, so generally what will happen when we click when we click forgot password, here it will say uh, email ID or user ID and OTP for the authentication. Okay, so anytime we have to exhibit or we have to present to the client the existing functionality. Okay, when it comes to product development company, product based company, so that client is also aware of the UI part where the buttons or where the fields are available. Okay, you're understanding, right?
Yes.
As a BA,
Yeah.
we should not imagine, since client also requires OTP authentication, we cannot put the field somewhere over here at the bottom of the screen or somewhere else on the screen. You should not imagine that. Okay, so always you should put a mock-up. Okay, we will be using a tool, Balsmic, for doing mock-ups and everything. Okay, so we have to put a mock-up before we develop that screen. We have to discuss with the client and we have to take the confirmation. Okay, then only we have to give this particular screen or particular requirement to the developers. Okay,
Okay.
so never imagine anything in terms of UI. Question the existence of existence. Question everything in the world. Okay, example, what client gives is not always correct. Okay, so we have to try to put in as much as questions. When we gather the requirement, you have to question in such a way that we have to note a very detailed part of the requirement. Okay, so for example, when it comes to password reset, we should not assume things like, the first letter should be case sensitive, there should be some, special character should be used. All these rules will be there, right? We should not assume them. We have to check with the client whether they require that part or not. Okay, so all the letters should be in capital letters, or first letter should be in capital letters. There should be some, special character should be included. or numeric should be included, or should we accept any spaces or full stops or commas. Okay, everything we have to check with the client, even that is a very minute part.
Okay.
Okay, right. So always consult an SME for clarifications in the requirement. Okay, so we are done with the requirement sessions, and that feature or that particular requirement is in the development stage. Still you when so it happens. So all the questions does not come at the at the point of discussion time, right? So when we are working on that, we do get some clear questions from development team. So we can go back to the client or subject matter expert from the client end. We can have the clarification. Okay.
Yeah.
So when go to client with a plain mind and with no assumptions. Okay, listen carefully and completely until the client is done, then you can ask your queries. Do not jump interpret the client. Okay, when he or she is giving you the problem, maximum try to extract the leads to that solution from the client itself. Okay, never try to give solution to client straight away from your previous experience and assumptions. Try to concentrate on the important and truly required requirements. Okay, don't be washed away by add-on functionalities, or do not imagine the solutions on the screen basis. Okay, so most of the times what will happen, that is a human tendency. So when we talk to a person, or when we talk to a stakeholder or client, he tries to explain his issue, or he tries to explain his problem. We suddenly jump into the solution, right? So we should not do that. Okay, we should make a note of that issue, or we should make a note of that functionality or feature. Okay, we should not straight away give them the solution or potential solution. We should just tell them, yeah, okay, we'll go through this defect, or we go through this feature or functionality with the team, then we'll come out of with the solutions, then we can discuss on that. Okay, so you have to put them uh, such a way that we are not going to give a solution right away. We need to some time for analysis, right? You're understanding, right?
Yeah, Shrikant.
Okay. Okay, now we'll see what are the challenging areas of a business analyst. Okay, so you're able to see the font, or do you want me to increase?
I'm able to see.
Able to see.
Okay, so what are the basic challenges faced by a business analyst is lack of training. Okay, so lack of training does not mean that client side, but so lack of training of the particular organization to a BA in the domain aspects. Okay, or the project, so sometimes what will happen, so every time we are not going to hire in the initial stage of the project. Okay, so we can be hired where project is already in the halfway development, and we might be hired for that project for a replacement of another BA. Okay, so wherein organization should take care of your training part. Okay, so if they lack on training, that is a challenge of to that business analyst to understand the requirement and the current existing functionality. Okay, obtaining sign off on the requirements is a big challenge for every business analyst. Okay, so what generally it happens is, practically client will give the requirement. Okay, so we will make a documentation of that particular requirement, and when we go for sign off, they will ask n number of questions to us. Why it has been written like that, what does this mean? So at the time of discussion, they'll not come up with any questions or any kind of objections. But when we go to sign off on the requirements documents, client will put lot of questions. Why? Because once that requirement is signed off, the feature will be developed as it is there on the document. Okay, so client will be very stubborn in providing the sign-offs on that requirement. So as a business analyst, we have to handle them, okay, to provide the sign-offs on that particular requirement. Okay,
Okay.
change management with respect to cost and timelines. Okay, cost is not in our hands. Okay, timelines, yes. So change request. So what is the change request?
Which we go through
In general terms.
so if there is any change or if there is any particular modification, then we will raise the change request and we go through the approval phases or process, making sure that everything in place.
So what is a scope creep? What is the difference between scope creep and change request?
Uh, Change request is something when we have accepted to go ahead and continue in current cycle or else in current agile phase. Scope creep is something we are keep on adding the changes, or else we client is providing the changes continuously, like that.
So client is providing the changes continuously means.
Means
So
like
in the change request also the same thing, right? Client will provide the changes very frequently.
until and unless we don't accept the change, it will not go into the change request, right?
Hmm. Scope creep is also the same unless we accept that the change what is client providing, it does not go under that, right?
Okay.
So let me put it. So Priya, do you have any
No, I
points on that? So the main difference between scope creep and change request is scope creep is client is pushing the additional requirements in between the development. So it is not related to any particular functionality. These are the additional requirements. Okay, additional requirements which are tampering our scope, which is already agreed between us and client. Okay, so a scope creep will affect that entire scope of the project. Okay, so whereas change request is once we deliver a feature, okay, due to some reasons, client will give additional requirement or will ask us to remove some part of functionality. This is change request. So CR will occur once we deliver the feature. Okay, so scope creep is will occur when we are in between the development. Okay, this is the additional requirements what client give us. But change request occur once we deliver that feature. Client will give additional requirement to alter that functionality. You're understanding, right?
Yes, yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is the main difference between scope creep and a change request. Okay. So handling change request with the timelines is a big challenge for the business analyst. Why? Because in the Scrum methodology or in Agile, in the Scrum, a sprint will be we'll see in details when we come to this topic. But a sprint will be assigned with the user stories based on the team capacity. Okay. If client is saying, for example, there are some change requests. 1 minute. There are some change requests. Those we have to take care at any cost. Okay. Say for example, there will be some government regulatory rules. Okay. So for example, if we are doing any taxation kind of software or application, so if government is changing the tax slab rates, that has to be implemented immediately in that software, right? We cannot say "Oh, yeah, we'll once we complete this sprint we'll do that." We cannot say that. So those kind of change request we have to take care immediately on priority, right?
Okay.
So handling those kind of change request is a big challenge for the client, a big challenge for the business analyst. Why? Because we have to make the client understand that if we take these user stories or if we take this development work, other stories will get impacted. Okay, we try to make them understand the impact, and we try to take them, and we'll move some other stories to the next sprint. If capacity allows us to take those require those CRs also, we can take them into the current sprint besides the other stories. Okay.
Okay.
So coordination between developers and testers is also a challenging thing, because developer says this requirement is like this, or tester says both. The understanding level of between both the developers and testers would be sometimes different. Okay, so we should able to put in the right example, and we have to make them understand. Okay, conducting meetings is a challenging thing, because all the stakeholders are not available at one time. Okay, we have to coordinate with the stakeholders, we have to make them agree on a one single point of time. Okay, then we have to conduct the meetings. Okay, driving clients for UAT completion, user acceptance testing. Driving is also a big challenge, because client is new to our application. Okay, client is new to our software. They will take some time to understand our features or our product, right? So you have to spend more time with them. Okay, you will find challenging uh, them understanding the particular requirement, not the requirement, the particular product or particular feature. Why? Because in their old product, they would have followed some steps. Okay, but in the new product or new project, they have to follow some other steps to achieve that functionality, right?
Yeah.
So people management is always a challenging thing for a BA. Okay, overall making sure project health is in good shape and delivered as per the timelines without any issues. Okay, so ensuring all the requirements are met at the development stage and everything is tested, and we have to ensure that all the features are delivered in the timeline which has been fixed. Okay,
Okay.
so these are the basic challenges uh, business analyst will face in the work. Okay. So a business analyst should have a basic communication. Okay, uh, he should be able to good in communicating with the business. Okay, so we have to follow a 3W rule. That means what to communicate, uh, what to communicate with the stakeholder. We should not, beat around the bushes. We have to discuss on the point straight away with the stakeholder. Okay, who to communicate, identify the right stakeholder to which we have to communicate that problem or we have to communicate that requirement. Okay, so for example, if you're developing any bank related application, we cannot go and talk the loan module requirement to the credit card module person, right? We
Yep.
should be able to identify the right person with whom or we have to communicate that particular thing. Okay, and when to communicate that thing. Okay, so we in the status meeting we cannot go and discuss the requirements, right? Or in
Good.
any some other touch points we cannot go and discuss the requirements.
Hmm.
We have some stipulated time wherein we have to talk about the requirement. Okay, a business analyst should know this, what to communicate, who to communicate, and when to communicate.
Okay.
Okay, and the other types is verbal and non-verbal communication. So verbal communication, he should be able to explain very good enough on the orally to the client or the team. Okay, and written communication is needed to write the documents. Okay, and non-verbal communication, facial expression, gesture, eye gaze, and appearance. All these we have to take care when we are visiting the client place or whenever we have some video chats. We have to take care of all these.
Okay.
Okay, understand, Priya, or any
Yes.
questions?
No, 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 Srikanth.
Okay. Oh, 1 minute. PPT got stuck. Yeah, give me 1 minute. Huh?
Yes.
Okay. So moving on to the next thing, we'll see what is the conflict management. Okay, and how to handle that. Okay, so there is a particular technique, Thomas Kaliman technique, we follow to do the conflict management. Okay, so basically when any conflict, basically for any person will be falling under this category. Okay, competing, avoiding, accommodating, collaborating, and compromising. Okay, so we'll see in detail with an example how this will work. Okay, so for example, let me take this. Okay, conflict management. Okay. Okay, so let us put this, cooperative in the y-axis and assertive. So assertive means these people are very stubborn. Okay, so when you talk to stakeholder, you have to categorize the people who are more assertive, and who are more cooperative. Okay, so when the people will be less cooperative when we are moving ahead. The people are less assertive when we are moving ahead. Okay, you have to identify the people who are more assertive and less assertive and less cooperative. Sorry, more assertive and more cooperative, and we have to identify the people who are less assertive and more cooperative. Okay, and the people who are more assertive and less cooperative, and less assertive and less cooperative. Okay, so this section of people, uh, this section of people, okay, take a step back from conflict and let it pay out. So what they think is, so as you can see here, right? So this is a low cooperativeness and this is a high cooperativeness, and this is a high cooperative and this is a low cooperative. The people who fall under this section will not, will not much take part of in that particular split, or that will not take part in that particular uh, conflict. Okay, you have to identify those people. Okay, and you have to identify the people who are competing. Focus on getting your perspective accepted. Okay, so these people are more interested in the conflict to get it resolved. Okay, and you have to identify the people who are collaborating, come together to develop a mutually beneficial solution. Okay, so these are the people who are very much collaborative to bring up the solution. Okay, so these are the competing people who will accept your solution, whereas collaborating, they'll contribute, that group of people will contribute themselves for building a solution. Okay, and accommodating, accept the perspective of other party to call it turns. Okay, so they will accept, the people under this category will accommodate themselves to accept the proposal, or they will also add some additional value to that proposed solution. Okay, you have to categorize the people uh, within these categories, and you have to identify the common people, right? There will be some common people in any group. Okay, who will be compromising like nature. Okay, they will contribute themselves for providing IT solution, or they will be contributing themselves in accepting the solution. Okay, you have to identify those people and you have to try to do a conflict acceptance between the stakeholders. Okay,
Okay. Yeah, Srikanth.
yeah. So the managing conflict require high level of energy for resolution. Managing conflict is all about maintaining the relations, habits in limiting factors. Okay, in managing the conflict, before engaging in the conflict, think about the expected outcome. Okay, so whenever you are going to talk to client on a particular conflict, not on the client. Okay, when you are going to handle any conflict within the team, you should not straight away jump into the discussion. You have to do some homework on yourself, and you have to think about the outcome. Okay, so the 5 steps to do conflict management is: identify the conflict, discuss the detail, agree the root problem, check for every possibility of solution for the conflict, and negotiate the solution to avoid the future conflict. Okay, so for example, if any there is a conflict between a developer and a tester uh, on one requirement. Okay, so they are arguing with each other and they came to you taking that conflict. Okay, so we have to identify the conflict, why the conflicting is occurring. Okay, we have to listen to both developer and tester. Okay, we have to give a proposed solution, like, we have to explain them how that particular requirement works to both. Okay, and take their opinions also. If there is really a misunderstanding between the developer and tester, you should be able to make them understand. Okay, or if there is a gap in the requirement, you have to take the feedback from developer and tester, go back to the client and get a feedback. Okay, you're understanding,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I think it's time for an exercise. Okay, so I think I have not added that exercise in the slide. Okay, so you are able to see a notepad, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I'll do, I'll put the exercise over here. You can make a copy of that. Okay. Or else I'll do one thing. Okay, we'll stop here for today. I will send you the exercise for conflict management. Okay, list down as a BA. List down the steps. How do you, make a solution for that conflict? Okay.
Okay.
So tomorrow we'll take a pause. Okay, from Monday. Today Thursday, right?
Today is
Today
Friday.
is Friday.
Oh, today's Friday. Okay, okay. I'm thinking today's Thursday. Okay.
Oh,
So from Monday, we'll start what is SDLC. Okay. So, and the waterfall, slowly we'll go into the waterfall methodology initially. We'll see what are the documentations and what are the steps of, life cycle. Okay. Then we'll come to Agile. Agile we'll discuss at the end.
okay.
Okay. So for now we'll stop. I will send you the exercise. So try to analyze that and, lay down the steps. How do you handle that particular conflict?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then bye for now.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks.